My girlfriend, female 20, cheated on me, male 21, with her best friend. During the summer vacation, my girlfriend cheated on me with her best friend, all the while keeping me in the dark and communicating with me was non-existent. When we returned to college, I began hearing stupid things and making excuses that led to disagreements, such as, "You kiss differently, you've changed, you're not who you were." I haven't changed a bit, it's just that something seems strange. We went to a college function one day and had a great time. The following night I received a call from her. She was weeping and telling me how she had cheated on me for almost 3 months with her best friend. She told me about the moment she realized she actually loved me. I don't enjoy yelling at people or arguing, so I stopped the call and didn't want to discuss anymore. She began harassing me with phone calls. I answered one phone and told her I didn't want to chat right now and wasn't in the mood to talk about it any longer. She continued phoning me, and now her friends were joining in, and I was receiving texts and phone calls left and right, while she was weeping and not eating. I finally had to pick up the phone because she was weeping and asking why I wasn't talking to her. She kept repeating "I love you," but I couldn't bring myself to say it back. I informed her I wanted to end the relationship, but it blew the lid off her and she burst out weeping. I managed to get her to eat something and stop crying, despite the fact that she insisted on wanting just me. But my faith had been broken. She forced me to meet her the following day, despite my objections. When I told her I needed a break and that it would be a long time before I felt normal again, she simply sobbed and begged me not to do it. She continued repeating things like, "I love you, don't do that," and so on. After a time, I realized I was being too dramatic and told her I no longer trusted her. She said that she would do anything. I could only tell her I couldn't do it. She persisted in pressing me. My ex and I were extremely close friends. We split on friendly terms and would chat every now and then. She had an issue with talking to my ex and forced me to ban her. Finally, I had her pick between me and her best buddy. I'm not the kind to do anything like this. She used to hang out with him and leave me behind, chat to him and not return my calls at times, but I completely trusted her. She said that she wanted to be with me. She made it a point to show me that she had blocked him, which was okay until about a week later when I saw she was chatting to him on Instagram. I was devastated since I had begun to trust her again to some extent. I immediately confronted her, and she blocked him again, but I wasn't having it, and she began weeping and pleading me. Despite all of this, I consented to remain with her. Yesterday, I spotted this guy's messages on Instagram, never checked her phone, she was showing me something, and questioned her about it right away. She began telling me about how her buddy was going suicidal and all that. I phoned the man immediately and spoke to him in front of her, telling both of them that I wasn't good with it and that she would have to make a decision. Now my girlfriend told me I was being controlling by asking her to choose, and at this point I had had enough, so I asked her to take her belongings and go to her hostel. I have a flat, she lives in the hostel. Now I thought talking to one of her reasonable friends would be a good idea, so I called her friend up in front of her and she told my girlfriend to do what she thought was right. Then she took the phone off the speaker and I was like, this involves me. She began to leave the room at this moment. She had already packed her belongings, so I yelled angrily at her, "If you go, don't come back." She had made up her mind about the split at this time and proceeded to grab her belongings and walk out the door. It was late at night, and I didn't want to leave her in a risky position, so I raced after her and offered her a ride. I persisted despite her refusal. Finally, she consented. By this time, she had informed her friends and best friend that we had split up. But throughout the voyage, she clutched my hand and began weeping, wondering whether we were really doing this, to which I had no response. What should I do? So I wanted to give you an update, and thank you for your support. I followed the advice and ended the relationship, realizing that it was draining the life out of me and was the worst thing in my life at the time. Since then, I've found someone who knows and cares about me, and there is no drama. Well, I once ate the last pizza slice and she got pretty angry, but yeah, that's the level of the drama. We help each other out, and she makes me a better person in general. I couldn't concentrate on my academics because of my ex, but the split, along with the COVID pandemic, provided me plenty of time to study, and I secured an internship at a large bulge bracket firm, as well as a few personal projects that I like working on. The epidemic also provided me the opportunity to realize that I was with the wrong person, and I love many people who love me, whether they be family, friends, or strangers. I've never felt so free. Today, I was reflecting on what used to be, and I realized that this subreddit was the catalyst for the shift in my life. So thank you, and you are all amazing. I've gone from crying nights to happy days because of you. Edit 1, some changes made in response to feedback. Edit 2, oh my god. I was not expecting such a response. Thank you, gentlemen. Edit 3, thank you for your kind comments. Story 2. Wife kissed someone a year ago, but I'm still fed up in the head about it. So here's the deal. 10 years of marriage. Wonderful union. We got along well. We argued a little, but nothing harsh came from any of us. She was active on social media and had a Snapchat relationship with one of her coworkers. They'd speak about us, him, and his girlfriend, I was informed. She acknowledges he once told her she was lovely, but she claims he was never overtly confrontational with her. And she had a number of these friendships with some colleagues on Snapchat, so he wasn't the only one. She works in a restaurant, and those generally wind up being quite tight-knit groups. I know since I bartended for years and was part of that sort of friend/family group dynamic. Anyway, I assume this carried on for about 3 months until one night, when at the pub where they all met up every Friday, he led her out and kissed her. She confesses to kissing him back for a few seconds before breaking the kiss, getting in her vehicle and driving home, and ceasing to communicate with him over Snapchat. I believe he didn't get the point and ended up showing up at her work one night, attempting to convince her to come to his home, but she refused. I know this because I overheard a chat between her and another female acquaintance in which she expresses her displeasure that he showed up at her employment attempting to get her to do anything. Here's the issue. I just observed her and her friend's communication and never saw a message between him and her, except for one that I'll mention later. And Snapchat, being what it is, has my mind racing. It's killing me to constantly envisioning my wife with this person. I trust her narrative because when I challenged her immediately after discovering it, she came clean and told me what occurred, and I was able to speak with the other person, who gave me a similar tale. They kissed. I asked if she ever gave him selfies. He replied around 5, but just of her face, nothing naked. He claimed they never or oral or anything more than the kiss. I contacted him from her phone while my wife was still in the shower after seeing the texts, and he answered straight away assuming I was her. Quick side note, the buddy I saw my wife chatting to about everything also said that he informed her they had slept together. That's essentially how this entire situation began. He gave her a kiss. He informed her buddy that they had. Her and her pal were talking about how they with him. I did hear my wife say things like he was asking me to come over and I can't believe he came up here and thinks I'm a manner that I'm not, and that she went off on him for being a lying piece of and things like that. I noticed one communication she sent him a few days before I discovered everything. It was the Friday night before I found out. She went to the bar to meet her other work friends, and he sent her a Snapchat message that said sorry, I guess for lying, and she sent him a message going off on him for lying. Although she never outright says you lied, she basically said you should be sorry for running your mouth. I was always honest with you, and that hurt. I have to say, based on the texts I read, it might go either way. It's conceivable that a one-night stand at a party occurred, but it's also plausible that there was just a brief kiss outside a gathering one night. I'm not looking for remarks like my wife say or anything like that. I adore my wife, with whom I have 2 children. I chose to remain a long time ago and will see things through to the finish. What I'm seeking for is essentially anybody who has been in the same circumstance and has had to learn how to look at his wife without seeing her engage in physical activity with someone else. But, most importantly, how did you deal with your obsessive thoughts? I understand that when it comes to having your wife cheat on you, a kiss is like literally nothing, and there are tons of husbands who wish their wives only kiss someone and push them off, but it's still really hard to look at my wife and not worry that she's only telling me part of what she's done out of fear of losing me. I have to confess that when I received the texts, I leapt to certain assumptions that have been difficult to shake. I've been thinking a lot about did she F him? I've been working non-stop for the previous 13 months and need assistance regulating my own imagination.